features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good afternoon, everybody. It is the most gorgeous afternoon here in the Greater Kruger National Park. This, the end of a cold front, and you are watching Safari Live.
Ready.
Standing by.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You are live, you are live.
My name is Jay. For the next 45 minutes, I must welcome especially Laura Lee School of 12 to 14-year-olds in Massachusetts, of course, on the northeastern corner of the United States of America, where I imagine you are relieved at the fact that the temperature there is probably warming quite nicely. Here, of course, it is getting colder as we head towards the winter. My plan for the next 45 minutes is to try and get to some wild dogs, the second most rare carnivore in all of Africa, and with any luck we'll find them in the next 10 minutes or so. My name is James Henry, as I said, and you are encouraged to ask any questions that you'd like to. Please just ask your teacher. She in turn, or he in turn, will send them through to our final control, and they will be fed into my ear via this earpiece. So any questions you have about safari, about Africa, about South Africa, the animals we see, we'll happily answer for you. In the meantime, it is beholden on me to tell you that, well, I'm not alone out here. Taylor is around as well. She was going to be driving around looking for leopards, I think, in this region somewhere here. And then Tristan will be out on foot trying to find you the smaller things of the great African wilderness that we find ourselves in now. Here we go. It's about 23 degrees when the sun's out. That is about 75 or so Fahrenheit. And so when the sun's out, I'm sweating in my jersey. But as soon as the sun disappears, it's actually quite chilly. We've had a really cold sort of snap over the last few days. The first sort of cold snap of our autumn, or what you might call fall. It doesn't get very cold here. It gets nothing like as cold as it gets in Massachusetts, so there's no snow. In fact, it doesn't get cold enough for there even to be a local word for snow. So there's no word in the Shangaan language for snow, because it just has never occurred here. So we have winter, but it's really not that bad at all. We're traversing a piece of land called Djuma at the moment, and that is part of a larger reserve called the Sabi Sand. And the Sabi Sand in turn is part of the Greater Kruger National Park, which in turn is part of the Greater Limpopo Transfrontier Park. You don't have to remember any of this. But what you do need to remember is what we are driving in is part of 8.5 million acres of contiguous wildlife land. So although we don't drive on all 8.5 million acres, it is so big that it could be considered an open system. The animals are free to come and go from any part of the reserve they want to. Obviously the territorial ones don't, but the elephants and the wild dogs and animals like that range massive distances. Now let's stop first and have a look at this beautiful flower. We're having the very last flush of flowers for the year. Here we have something called Senna Batesiana. Again, you don't have to remember that, but what you might like to remember is that it's called a monkey pod. Isn't that beautiful? Well, it looks quite beautiful, but it doesn't smell so fly. It smells a little bit like sort of rotting beans when you crush it up, and I think that's because it's got a whole lot of toxins in the leaves that animals shouldn't really like and don't really like, so they don't get grazed very heavily, but the caterpillars do eat them quite extensively. So if you squash up the leaves like that, and they just smell like sort of if you take a fresh bean, a green bean, rub it up in your hands, and then let it ferment for a little while, that's what it smells like, which is not very delicious at all. But the flowers are very pretty. Alrighty, on we go on our quest for the wild dogs. Alrighty, let's head straight across to Taylor. She's down here somewhere looking for 2 junior leopards.
We are indeed looking for leopards, but we haven't got leopards just yet. And welcome to the schools that are joining us. Okay? Oh, did they fly off? Oh, sorry. I was looking at Rohan, who is on camera with me today, and he was shaking his head very sadly, and I think it was because some of the birds I was about to flew off. But my name is Taylor, and I've managed to see one is still just sitting up off on the corner of the tree, just up over there. You should be able to see it. So they didn't all fly off, but there were a lot more here, and they were playing in the sand. They were collecting little bugs, and now that they have got a full belly, they are grooming themselves in the nice sun. Now it is lovely and warm here this afternoon. It's about 74 degrees Fahrenheit, so not too hot. Really just the perfect temperature, almost like that morning sun that you get at around 10:30 on a summer's day. That's what it feels like right now. And I can imagine grooming or preening yourself is the correct word to use, when birds sort of fix their feathers, pull out the ones that they don't need. And that's what this one is doing. And they are meticulous when it comes to grooming. So, in case you don't know what that word means, they don't leave any feather unturned. They make sure that they get every single one of them, and that they look lovely and beautiful, because you never know when there might be a lady who's interested in you, so you've got to look your best all the time. Now, just from here, that looks like the male, just because of the size of his beak. You see how broad it is, whereas the female's beak of the yellow-billed hornbill is slightly smaller, not too much smaller, and it's actually difficult to tell unless you've got a lot of experience, or if the two of them are sitting together. Then it's quite easy. And going on a safari is not all just about the big cats, remember? It's also about the smaller things too. Now, Justine, you're wondering, what kind of animals are we going to see today? I'm not sure. That's the fun thing about safaris, is you never know what you may see or what's around the next corner. But for the moment, we have found ourselves some birds, some beautiful birds. But we're going to carry on. We're going to continue on forward, and we're going to see what else we can find. Because it is such a nice warm day today, we might be lucky and catch some elephants heading towards a watering hole. Hello, Hornbill. Thank you very much. There it goes, off it flies. But I think that would be really nice, because we're going near a dam. If we would see some elephants or a hippo. Let's see. Adamir, now you're wondering how big could those birds grow? Well, the size that we're looking at just a moment ago, they were fully grown, so those were adults, and I reckon they're probably about this long. So almost a bit longer than your ruler, I would say, about that time. Their tail would be a little bit longer than that, but they've also got those very, very big beaks which add a lot of length. I think they'd be quite heavy birds. I've never held one before, but those were indeed adults. But we are seeing a lot of young birds around at the moment. Most of the birds have laid their eggs and reared their chicks, and some of them that look after their young, you can actually see families at the moment. And the way that you tell the difference between the adults and the juveniles is they may be lacking some colouring on their beaks, or their feathers might be a different colour. Normally they look like they're older. They look sort of mottled grey, or they'll have lots of white and brown feathers on them, and they'll need to lose them until they get their adult colours. So that's normally the way, because they grow very quickly, and in terms of size they get as big as they're going to get in sort of length and weight fairly quickly. And then, well, they just look like adults, and we'll see if we can find some juvenile birds for you this afternoon. I'm just keeping my eyes open here, because there could be leopards, there could be elephants, there could be anything here. Now, Devon, you're wondering, what do those birds eat? They love insects. They love to eat all kinds of insects. So from caterpillars, if they can catch a bee, they'll eat one of those. They'll eat grasshoppers and crickets and butterflies. They will literally eat anything, which is really cool. So we've come to a little area where there's a bit of water. Now there's 2 leopards that love it around here. But let's see if we can find them. So you've got to look very, very carefully, just by scanning all around you. I think I might actually switch off him, because sometimes you don't always just see things. You've got to use your ears as well, and you've got to listen. It could make a sound. But let's have a little scan. Maybe you can help me and see if you can spot any leopards in the distance. So look very, very carefully. Doesn't look like there's anything just yet, but if a leopard were to lie down in this long grass or eat grass or even behind a shrub, it would be very, very difficult for us to spot that leopard. So you've got to double check, you've got to triple check. But we're going to keep searching now for these leopards, and hopefully one of them is going to appear. But you haven't met my friend Jamie yet, and she is doing a bushwalk.
We are indeed doing a bushwalk, which is one of my absolute favourite ways of experiencing life out here. Hello, my name is Jamie, and this afternoon Senzo is on camera with me, and we're heading out on foot, as Taylor told you, which is a really fantastic way of getting a little bit closer to some of the smaller things. Now, obviously, when you're out on a vehicle, things are a little bit more tricky. You're moving a bit faster, you're driving, so there's noise, but out here on foot, you're constantly looking, constantly listening to whatever's going on around you, and it allows you to stop and not quite smell the roses, because we don't get any roses out here, but smell the grass and smell the trees and hopefully smell the leopards. Now, Taylor's told you that she is searching for some of those leopards along that by that waterhole. We're going to do something very similar. We're going to work our way around our main camp, because remember, we live out here. So we go to bed at night in our rooms in the middle of the bushveld. We drive to work every day in the middle of the bushveld. It's a really wonderful thing. And sometimes the animals walk right past our homes. Now, the last time one of those leopard cubs was seen, it was just a little bit to the north of the camp, and that's where I'm planning to go this afternoon. That is what I'm searching for. Bless you, Senzo. Senzo, shame. Now, when you're on a bushwalk, Senzo has to hold the camera and has a big backpack on his back. He's quite shy, so you probably won't see his face, but he's been trying not to sneeze, and he's still trying not to sneeze. It's coming again. Are you okay there? It's the bright sunlight. The sun's come out for the first time today. It's been a little bit chilly because we're going into winter, but it has been a really nice warm afternoon. Now, Julian, you would like to know, are we going to see any monkeys? Well, Julian, that's one of the animals that I'm going to be searching for. I'm going to search for monkeys to show you, because monkeys have very, very good eyesight, and they're very good at spotting something like a leopard. Now, I'm hoping we might see some monkeys, and hopefully when we do see them, they're making their characteristic alarm call sound. That's what they sound like. Sort of like what they sound like. That was like a mixture between a monkey and Donald Duck, but it gives you the right sort of idea. And whenever I make that sound at my dog, she immediately goes and runs around the trees looking for monkeys to go and bark at. So we're looking for monkeys, because hopefully the monkeys will show us where the leopards are. Now, you might be wondering, well, how can it be safe for us to be with a leopard on foot? Well, it's the best way of finding them. Sometimes it's the only way of finding them, because leopards are very sneaky. And remember that a leopard's quite short, so if I pretend to be a leopard and I disappear in here and I sit down, well, it's going to be very, very hard to see me. So searching about on foot is actually a really, really nice way of finding them. And it's not dangerous as long as we give them plenty of space. We don't want to corner them, because of course they are a big cat and they could potentially be dangerous. They're wild animals. But that's what we're going to be doing, is searching for them, seeing them, and then bringing the vehicles in. And luckily for us, because I can tell you something, if a leopard doesn't want to be found, it won't be found. But luckily for us, we've actually got leopards that are used to seeing people on foot. They've grown up since they were very little, with people approaching them on foot, finding them, and then bringing a vehicle in. And what that does is, just because when they're babies, they don't know that they're meant to be scared of us, and so they become used to us very quickly. And that's what we're looking for. The other thing that we're looking for is footprints in the ground. So as I'm walking along, I'm leaving my footprint in the soil, and leopards will do exactly the same thing. There is an animal that definitely would not want to find a leopard on foot, and James has found one.
It is a pig. It is a large pig. And you are going to see a vehicle drive past in between, but don't worry about that. It'll go away fairly soon. There we are. Those are people on safari having fun. They're doing the real thing, I suppose, while you're sitting in your classrooms. And those are warthogs. They're not your sort of garden variety farm pig. And one of two wild pig species that we get out here, and certainly many people's favourite animals. Looks like a sow and her 3 youngsters, who are just not quite ready to leave home yet. You can see they're all 4 of them. They're a bit nervous, and that's because of the vehicles, and also possibly because the wild dogs apparently were in this area during the course of the morning. Now you might ask yourself, why would there be pigs around if there are wild dogs around? And I'm asking myself the same question, wondering if the dogs haven't perhaps moved on. But that game drive vehicle is going to have a look, and so we're going to follow them slowly down the airstrip. And we'll see if we can't possibly pick up the dogs. Now, for those of you who don't know, a wild dog is basically Africa's equivalent of a wolf, and indeed the Latin name, Lycaon pictus, means painted wolf. And the pigs, being disciplined by their mother, get in front of me, hurry up. Don't dally. They're probably going off to have a small drink. There's a little waterhole not too far from here. And there's an impala. That is our most common antelope species out here. That's an impala ram, a male, and they're in the middle of the rut at the moment. And that means that they are fighting with each other. That's why he's standing alone. And they're trying to sort of impress all the ladies. Devon, you're wondering how old those warthogs can get. Devon, the warties can probably get to around about, I'd say, 12 years if they were lucky. But you see, very little dies out here of old age. Most creatures here die of being eaten by something. I'm very glad that, well, I hope one day that I shan't die of being eaten by something. I hope to die quietly in my sleep as a very old man. But that is not a pleasure that many of the animals out here have. They get weak when they get older, and once you get weak out here, I'm afraid it's tickets. Now, David, you want to know what the top predator in Africa is, and will we find it? Well, we've just seen a whole lot of them drive past. The top predator in Africa is man, obviously. I know that's not what you meant. The top apex predator out here is the lion. And the chances of finding them today, not fantastic, simply because we pretty much know where the lions are, and the prides that we normally see are not on the areas that we are able to traverse just at this moment. So they're normally around where we are, but unfortunately at the moment they aren't. So that's why we're unlikely to see a lion. But you never know. It's unpredictable. The afternoon drives are slightly more predictable, simply because lions don't really move during the middle of the day. So once they're fast asleep at 9 o'clock in the morning, you can be fairly sure that they're not going to move for the rest of the day. But there have been no lions spotted in our traversing area during the course of the morning. But wild dogs, they are pretty high up on the predator pecking order, as are hyenas, which we might be able to show you a little bit later, I'm not sure. And so with any luck, you will see some predators. It's a beautiful, beautiful day here. See, crystal clear. Now, Miss Wilson, you're wondering how big the wild dogs chase, and you have great visions of me being chased across the plains by a pack of rabid wild dogs. Miss Wilson, fear not. Wild dogs about the size of a tall Alsatian, not quite as stocky, and they are much faster than us, obviously, but they do not attack humans. Everything in Africa just about sees human beings as a predator, and because they see us as a predator, they tend to avoid us. I have seen wild dogs on foot many times, and they do not chase us as human beings, which is fantastic. Now, we are on an airstrip, so you might be wondering what this great big tarmac strip is. It's where guests land in aeroplanes when they come to stay in the exotic locations that we have out here. And our aim is to drive along the strip just to see if we can't find the dogs poking their heads out of the top of the bushes or the grass here. And the reason they would be on this airstrip or close to it would be because it's an open area and they're what we call coursing predators, and that means that they need a big open area that they can chase their prey across. Now, I'm afraid I'm not holding out a huge amount of hope right now, and I'll tell you why. There are a lot of impala dotted about this airstrip, and if one of their major predators, the wild dogs, were very close at hand, I just suspect quite strongly that they wouldn't be lurking around here quite so relaxed. But we might be lucky. Maybe. Now that other vehicle went driving down through there. Now there are impala all over the place as I look down here. So it makes me think that the wild dogs have maybe moved along. That's a pity. But we shan't give up just yet. Found something animal that.
Just to let you know, sometimes when we're out like this, we find things that are a little bit sad to see. So I'm just warning you in advance that what I'm going to show you is a little bit sad, but also very, very interesting. So what we found is a dead bat that I'm not quite sure what happened to it. I'm not sure how it died. I'm not sure why it died. But here it is over here on the ground. And it's actually fascinating to look at. I'm sad that it's dead, but I'm glad that we have an opportunity to closely examine it because, well, we don't often get to see them very much, and we hardly ever get to put them on camera because they come out at night and they're so quick that it's very, very difficult for us to catch them while they're flying around. And remember, a bat is a flying mammal. So you can actually see I'm opening up its wings here. So it's still not completely stiff. This is quite a fresh death because I can open up its wings and there you can see the thin, thin membrane of the bat's wings. And you can also see that it's covered in fur. Now this, we get two different types of bats. We get lots of different species, but two different types. One is a bat that eats fruit and one is a bat that eats insects. Now, how do I know which type this is? Well, this is a little insect-eating bat, part of the Microcoroptera. And the reason that I know that is, first of all, it's a lot smaller than the bats that eat fruit, but it's got absolutely massive ears. And one of the reasons that it has massive ears is because bats fly about in the dark, they practice what's known as echolocation, kind of in a way like dolphins do. So what they do is they emit sharp, very high-pitched squeaks, often higher than we can actually hear. And by doing that, the sound waves from those squeaks bounce off the objects and come back to the bat, and then their massive ears pick up on those sounds, and they're able to pinpoint even an insect that is flying around, and then they're able to swoop in and catch it. And that's one of the fascinating things about bats in particular. Now, I can also see that it's a fruit-eating bat. It's got very, very sharp teeth. But it's difficult to show you at this sort of angle, but it's got tiny, tiny, very sharp teeth. Now, you might be wondering, why am I touching it with Styx? And this is very important. You must never ever play with a dead animal that you find. If it's a dead rat, if it's anything that is no longer alive, you mustn't play with it. You mustn't touch it with your bare hands. And that's because they can carry diseases. And in particular, the one that I'm worried about with this little bat is rabies. Now, I don't particularly want to get rabies. Bats can carry rabies without getting sick. And their carcasses can transmit that disease to me, so I want to be very careful of touching it with my hands. And Adamian, there you go. You want to know, could a bat kill me with one bite? No, probably not. Probably the chances are not. I got bitten once when I was a small child because I was busy playing with a live bat that I found. And remember, out here we don't get vampire bats. So the idea of vampire bats that swoop in and suck people's blood is actually pretty much a myth. Vampire bats can drink blood, but generally speaking, they're not going to latch onto you and suck all of your blood like a vampire. That's not how they work at all. But because they do carry diseases, I don't want to risk getting a disease. And yes, if I got bitten by it and if I got rabies, then I could die. But as soon as you get bitten by anything, any wild animal or any dog or any cat, you must go straight to the doctor and get an injection. And they'll give you a vaccination against whatever diseases that particular animal is carrying. And because I work out here, where there is a risk of me getting bitten by something, I'm actually up to date with all of my rabies vaccinations. So I'm not too worried about being bitten by a bat. And I've actually lived in a house with bats flying above me. They don't bother me. I actually find them kind of cute. They are kind of sweet in a way. Admittedly, probably a dead one is not that sweet for you to look at, but they are quite cute. Very tiny. Look how tiny it is compared to my hand. It is a tiny, tiny little thing. Now, Jacob, you want to know, how did this bat die? Jacob, I'm not sure. It's a fully grown bat. It's an adult bat. I don't know what happened. There's a possibility that it might have been caught by a bird and then dropped, and maybe its bones were broken. I can't see any signs of any bites or broken skin, which is another reason why I'm not touching it, just in case it did die of a disease. So no, I'm not quite sure exactly how this bat died. I really don't know. The possibilities are perhaps it flew into something, perhaps it got caught. Now, Devon, you want to know, there's this little nose. Tiny, tiny, tiny little nose, and there you can actually, let me try and see if I can show you its teeth. Now, Devon, you want to know how long bats can live. I actually don't know how long exactly this particular species of bat would live. My guess would be not much older than 5 years. I don't think they're going to live all that much longer than a small rodent or something like that. But I could be wrong. There might be bats that could live much, much longer than that. But I would guess at around a couple of years or so. They tend, with little animals, they tend to live slightly shorter lives than large animals. Not always, but sometimes. Look at the wing. And remember, a wing, in the case of a bat, is made up of the same bones that you have in your hand, just modified. So these are basically fingers with a membrane between them. And that's how it flies through the air. It's quite amazing, really. There you go, you can actually see the membrane of the wing. It's got a little bit of a puncture wound behind its ear, which makes me think that might have been how it died. Maybe something caught it. And remember, bats sleep upside down, so one of the first things that I did was check above me to see if there might be a place where a bat might be sleeping, but there's nothing up above me. So whatever happened to this bat, it must have happened while it was out and about, flying around looking for food. Shame. Poor little thing. I'm going to leave it here because the ants have already started feeding off it, and that's the thing about being out here. Nothing ever goes to waste. So while we continue in a sort of generally eastish direction, Taylor has gone almost as far east as we can go.
we have indeed. We're on Cheetah Plains now, so we've done a good drive around, and I've got some very, very exciting news. As we came up through the dip to get into Cheetah Plains, I noticed that there were lots and lots of lion tracks. And as I was about to call the lion tracks in, one of the Cheetah Plains rangers actually managed to find some lions. Now, I have to tell you that the lions that have been found are very, very young lions, so we can only allow one vehicle in that sighting at a time. So we've got what's called a second standby, but I don't know how long we could wait to get into that sighting. So there's one more person that's going to go before us, before we can go in. But we'll just have to wait and see. So we're on Cheetah Plains. We don't want to go too far. There's a dam actually not too far away from here that I thought we could go and have a look at and see if there's anything inside it. Maybe a hippopotamus, maybe some impala. Let's go down this way, because the sighting is not too far from here. It's sort of between where we are now and the lodge, which is just down over there. You won't be able to see it though. So I'm very, very excited. So there's 6 little lion cubs in total. The youngest ones are barely 2 months old. They're very small, and they're what we'd call teddy bear cubs because they're very, very fluffy still, which is really nice. So hopefully we get them in time. But otherwise it's been very quiet. I haven't seen any elephants just yet, which is a little bit saddening. I was hoping that we would have found some by now. And even the birds are avoiding us just for the moment. But I think once we get down to this waterfall, there's normally that likes to live here, and there's also lots and lots of different types of birds live down here. Maybe some reptiles, some things like terrapins, which look like minnows. Maybe crocodile, maybe a water monitor, which looks like a miniature Komodo dragon. So there's all these things that we could possibly see at the dam. Whether we're going to see them or not, it depends on if nature is feeling kind today. But I have a good feeling. I think that it is just the right temperature. Now, where are the animals? Animals, come out. I have not even seen very many impala. Oh, that's exciting. I just heard on the radio that the second guy got that sighting, which is very good. That's good to hear, because that means that we're now one step closer to getting into that sighting. Right. The dam is somewhere around here, I think. I always get lost.
Herbie, confirm that the tracks. Confirm that the tracks of the baby leopard also went across to Hoffman's today. I'm just trying to find out about some leopards. But my radio is about as functional as a brick. I may as well be using a brick. The wild dogs, I'm afraid, have moved off to the south of where we're allowed to go as well. So we're back out, going back towards Djuma, seeing if we can't pick up on some leopards. And Taylor, of course, has got something very exciting for you fairly shortly, we hope. In the meantime, we will just enjoy this wonderful afternoon. Now, there were tracks of a leopard going in here during the course of the day, so what I'm going to do is just turn off, and what we'll listen for is the alarm call of birds. Birds, if they see a predator, will go, which means there's a leopard, watch out, watch out. While we do that, here's a termite mound, an enormous castle of clay, and in this part of the world we only build with bricks, so very few people have wooden houses, so they're not a huge problem to our houses, except, of course, to those who have wooden door frames, of course, and there are many. And next time you see Jamie, you can ask her about her wooden door frame, which she had to remove from the house because of termites. They live in these mounds normally, not normally in our door frames. And what I find the most amazing thing of all about termites, and there are thousands of amazing things about termites, the most amazing thing of all is that their mass, if you took the combined mass of all the termites in this area, their mass would be greater than the combined mass of all the above ground herbivores. So that would include the elephants and the impala and the wildebeest and all of the other 8 or so species of antelope that we get here, and the rhino and the hippo and everything else that eats grass and leaves. So the mass combined of the termites greater than that of the above ground herbivores. Isn't that quite something? Countless millions of termites, providing an enormously valuable and crucial service to the ecosystem out here. Quite astonishing, really. And I imagine that this particular mound would have taken probably in the region, I'm saying probably at least 100 years old, which is quite something. Right, here we have one of those animals that I was talking about now with Taylor. It's not quite the one that you were hoping to see just yet. That will come shortly.
We are back, we found the dam. I did not get lost. Now it may look like we're not looking at very much at the moment, just a couple of ripples in the water. But if you watch very carefully, hopefully, before I finish this next sentence, whatever is making the ripples is going to pop out of the water. No. They don't want to listen today, but they're coming. You can see where all those ripples are, just in the middle of your screen. Keep watching around there, because eventually the thing that is making all those bubbles is going to have to come up and take a breath. There we go. There's one of them. What was that? That was so quick, wasn't it? Now, I can promise you that it's not the Loch Ness Monster. There are 2 hippopotamus, in this little dam. Now, I don't know yet if they're male or female, because the one that I've seen very, very briefly, and they're all going to the left, just towards that tree, is, I think there could be 2 females, or it could be a male and a female, but they're just not popping their heads out of the water for long enough. But if you keep watching down there, eventually they're going to come up, and I think they're just actually keeping out of the sun. Maybe they're a little bit camera shy too. Not all the animals like to live in the limelight. There we go, it's just popped up, and he's gone back under again. See, I think we've got to look very, very carefully, because unfortunately, I think these hippos might be a little bit afraid of us, and that's why they don't want to keep their heads up. But if you keep watching underneath the trees, every now and then you'll see that hippo pop its head up, so let's keep a close view on that hippo. There we go, it's underneath the trees. And it's gone under again. Let's just keep a watch over there, because they're going to keep coming up and down very quickly. Now, Devon, you're wondering, what do hippos eat? Now, they come out of the water on the cooler days, even like today, and particularly, especially at night time, and they eat grass. So that's their favorite thing to eat, is just grass. Look, there we go. You see all the ripples? What's going on under there? Now, they might be moving a branch around a little bit, because that tree is underwater now. And every time they touch the branch, the entire tree shakes. Did you see that? Look, there we go. There's the branches moving. I can see the hippo. You can see it just in the shade. There we go. By that bird's nest. If you're wondering what that brown thing is too, that is a weaver's nest. But I think they feel very comfortable over there. I think they feel as though they're far enough away to not really worry about us anymore. Oh no, now they're coming closer towards us. Look at the bubbles. You can follow the bubbles. Look at that. Where do you think it's going to go? Oh, it's playing tricks with us as well. Oh, it just put its nose out. It didn't even want to show us its ears. Now, Mrs. Hanson, you're wondering how long can they hold their breaths for. Now, sometimes you can sit and you'll only see a hippo a couple of times if they're shy, like these 2 are. And that is because they can hold their breaths for about 6 minutes, which is an exceptionally long time. I know that you and I probably can't hold our breaths for that long, so it's amazing that they're able to do that. But there is a giveaway when a hippo moves, because you can just follow the bubble trail that they leave behind. And as they're moving around under the water, they're not swimming either. Can you believe that? They're actually walking along the bottom of the water. Now, this dam is not very deep. I would say it's at about maybe 6 foot deep, which I suppose for some of these dams is quite a bit, but it's going to dry up very, very quickly because we shouldn't get any more rain until the rainy season starts again. So that will only be at the end of September. Maybe we get some early rain. So hopefully we're going to have enough water in the big dams to keep the hippos happy, to keep the crocodiles happy, the fish happy, and all the birds that love it around the water. Otherwise we're going to be in a bit of trouble. But these hippo are not our friends today. They don't want to stay here at all. Jose, you're wondering if hippos ever go on a diet. I think a hippo, an elephant, a rhino, and a buffalo are the animals out here that do not care about their weight. And remember, when you're in the wild, the bigger you are, the better, because it means you've got more fat reserves to last out for the cold winter months, or not even just the cold winter months, when there's no food in winter, because the grass and all the vegetation disappears very quickly. So no, the animals out here, the last thing they want to do is go on a diet. They want to make sure they're eating as much as they can. But I think we're going to move away from these hippo because they are not showing themselves. They have not come up since we last saw them, pop their noses up, which is a little bit, which should be.
Right, everybody, sorry about that rather abrupt change of life going on there, but there is a rather special animal. And that rather special animal is the dwarf mongoose. Isn't it sweet? I just think they are wonderful creatures. And this one, of course, is sitting in amongst the grass. And they are the smallest carnivore in all of Africa. Ooh, hang on. Hang on, the dogs are just up ahead. They're up here somewhere. They're just here. Oh, hang on. Sorry, Mike, my radio's been a mess. Confirm they're between Zoe's and Triple M. Mike, come back, Mike. Okay, I think they're just up ahead here, from what I can understand. With any luck we'll get there. These radios, I'm afraid, are an absolute nightmare. Let's just have a look over the top of this hill. They might be right there. Does anybody see them up front? Oh, how deeply irksome. I can't see anything. What I'm going to do is ask the final control to ask Herbert, who is on walk with Jamie, to get hold of them and find out where they are, and then they can in turn tell her and she'll tell me. Right, I believe we've got 2 minutes left with you. Okay, everybody, we're going to drive quite fast. We'll just see if we can't pick something up. Oh, only 2 minutes left. These dogs have moved a long way during the course of the day. I've got I'm very confused. There should be somewhere around here. Zoe's. We've gone past that and there was no one there. Yeah, I've got that. Yes, thanks, Siri. I've got either gone blind or these dogs are nowhere near where they said they were. Let me just listen quickly. I know that this is a little frustrating, everyone, because we want to try and get there, obviously, before you have to go back to your maths or history or geography or whatever else it is that you have to do. Sorry, Mike, go again with that location. I'm struggling to hear you. No. Oh, here are the tracks. Here are the tracks. No, they're definitely not anywhere near Zoe's Junction. The tracks are going down the road here. I don't know what's going on. It's all very confusing. Oh well. Maybe next time you'll see some dogs. Atamias, you're wondering how the dogs came to be in Africa. Atamias, it's because they were born in Africa. They are an African species. They didn't come to Africa from anywhere. They originated in Africa. And so many thousands of years ago, or hundreds of thousands of years ago, their common ancestor would have split from the wolves, and the dogs, our dogs would have evolved into the dogs here, and then the wolves, you got them there. Here we go. Hooray! This is fantastic. We might just be able to get you a quick view before you have to leave. This is very exciting. Sorry, Michael, my radio is an absolute nightmare. There they are, everybody. They're in the grass there. Look. Look at that. You see them? You can just see the big, wonderful ears. They're just straight in front. You're in there. You're in the right place. And I can smell them. They smell like wet dogs. And we'll just get these guys out the way. And then we will hopefully see them again. There we go. There they are. Now, I know you I wonder if you've even heard of wild dogs before, but these are my favourite animals. Oh, look, there they are. Look at that. Isn't that special? I'm not sure how long we're going to be able to spend with them, but certainly for the length of the school drive we'll be able to stay here with you. But this is very special to have wild dogs like this. And I know they're not getting up and hunting. That's because they like to wait until the sun starts to go down before they get up and do too much in the way of hunting. But at the moment, they're just resting in the grass. Nowhere, anywhere near where anyone said they were. And it's because it's been a cool day that they've been moving along here. Normally they would go a little bit like the lions. They would go completely stationary for the duration of the day. And José, you were wondering how much the wild dogs eat. Well, they'll probably take out an impala, the equivalent of an impala a day, so about 70 kilograms of meat a day for a pack like this. They can probably eat about 10% of their body mass in one sitting, 10 to 15% of their body mass, and they're not very heavy. They're quite light animals, weighing in about 40 pounds or so, so say 4 pounds of meat a sitting, plus minus, maybe a bit more. Damien, I've asked a very interesting question, one that I've never been asked before. How many teeth does a dog have? I don't know, but I'll tell you what, I'll find out for you. It has got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 on the bottom, times plus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, plus 20 on the top, so about 40 teeth. It's quite a lot of teeth, isn't it? It's 10 more than the leopard's got. All right, everybody, we're going to send you off to whatever class it is that you're going to, and we'll sit here with these dogs and enjoy our afternoon in Africa. Hope you have a great day at school.
What an exciting afternoon or morning for those school kids. I hope they had a fantastic time. But now it is time for the Sunset Safari, and of course the for Karula along with it, or at least Karula's cubs, or Karula. You never know, she might yet surprise us. Just a quick reintroduction as I tumble down. That would actually be a great way to make an entrance. Tumble down this termite mound and land up at Senzo's feet. Then go, my name is Jamie, and I will be forever remembered for the time I fell down the termite mound. My name is Jamie, and this afternoon Senzo is on camera with me, and we're continuing with our live safari, so don't forget to send through your questions on #SafariLive on Twitter. I'm in one of my favorite spots on Djuma, and it's a favorite spot that I shared with Karula. Not at the same time, but we both really love it. It's this absolutely massive termite mound combined with an absolutely massive jackalberry tree. There's no other tree in the world that looks like a jackalberry tree or an African ebony. That dark bark, it's covered in lichen, so it doesn't show through as clearly, and those thick dark green leaves. And I've just realized, because I've often tracked Karula around it, but I've never actually gone and stood up on that termite mound before. And now I know why Karula loved it so much, or loves it so much. She can see all the way across to the other side of the Djuma pan. So the dam, plus where the dam camera is in that general direction. And she could have seen everything that way, everything back there, absolutely everything everywhere. The only disadvantage would be that she'd have to go up really carefully, because Djuma's network of spies lives just across in that direction. And this is where the troop of vervet monkeys almost always hangs out. And they're not alarm calling. And I noticed the other day when I followed Shungile through here that she walks exactly the same paths as her mother used to when we saw her mom around here. So this is where we've come to continue the search for Shungile this time around. But we've encountered one very relaxed impala herd, some very relaxed monkeys, and monkeys alarm call for a long time after they've seen a leopard. I think it's safe to say that she isn't here and that our search must continue. But this is obviously a very popular route for the animals that walk along here. And if we come down here and we have a look through the logs and the long grass, there's actually networks of paths that have been worn in by years and years of animal tracks wandering through, straight towards the water in different directions, so taking different routes to different parts of the waterhole. So they basically become almost like hiking trails, not quite, but almost. Elephant paths, hippo paths, animals that have walked here for a very, very long time and trodden well-marked routes into the ground. Except in places where the elephants have come and pushed through trees, in which case it's a dead end and a new path is formed. Excuse me, I'm sorry, that took me by surprise. So, where is Shungile gone? Herbie and I have been discussing what her route might be. We've come to the conclusion that she's probably starting to move towards the Mulwati drainage line. So that's where we're going to walk this afternoon. See if we can't catch up with her but she could be anywhere in here, and we have to move through here quite slowly because it's so thick. And I don't think Shongile is quite the same as she used to be on foot. Things have become, I think her world's changed a little bit. She's feeling a bit more insecure in herself. And as a result, I think she's probably going to be a little bit more skittish than she has otherwise been. I know that James did see her on foot, and I know that he mentioned the same thing. She just wasn't quite, but that was inevitable. That was bound to happen as she started to grow up as well. How cool was that dead bat? I mean, obviously it's sad for the bat, but I actually really, really wanted to give it to James in the tent. I'm just a bit concerned about diseases being transmitted, so I'd rather go and collect it with a glove or something like that rather than carry it around on a stick. It was fascinating. You could see in the membranes. I didn't want to dwell too closely on it during a drive with school children, but it was a truly fascinating experience. So don't forget to send through those questions on #SafariLive on Twitter. It's the first dead bat I found, and actually the first member of the Microcoroptera group that I've seen here. All the other bats I've seen around here have been fruit-eating bats. That was an insect-eating bat. This is the sort of trap that gets you if you're not watching where you're walking. Like the one that's just caught the camera cable. We're going to concentrate on getting through this Tambuti thicket. I'm sure you're all excited to learn whether or not Taylor's got into that lion sighting. Go and find out.
We're not quite there just yet. We're still waiting to get into that sighting. So what we've done, we've just done a couple of loops and things to buy some time, but sadly our loops and things have not found us anything. So we've just decided to come around to the other side of the Djuma Dam and have a look from here. So it's going to come up on our left hand side. But so far there's nothing, and I am just listening to the Game Drive radio because I'm waiting to be called in, of course, to that sighting, which hopefully will be fantastic. But let's see, maybe those hippos will give us another sight of them from the other side of the dam. I'm not so certain. If they are a little bit skittish again, we'll give them one more chance. Then I'm going to leave them completely. Sometimes the animals just don't like us, I suppose, and some animals never will like the cars, and there's not much we can do about it. I've actually seen it quite often with hippos, being a little bit nervy around the vehicle, sort of bobbing up and down, not quite relaxed. I miss our friend Henry, who we used to see often at the Djuma Dam, the Vuyatela Dam, of course, with the camera. And then we stopped seeing him. I don't know where he's gone. And then I've enjoyed our friend who we've been seeing occasionally at Twin Dams. He's been quite wonderful, the one that splashes about for Tristan. That's really, really nice to see. You don't often see hippos with personalities like that either. He's quite a feisty one. Let's poke our noses down here. Oh, there's a heron. We can have a look at the heron. It's just flown off. Hopefully it's going to land on the other side of the water. Yes, good heron. Look just down and across the other side of the water. There we go. There's the heron. Now, Adele, you're wondering if at any times of the day we are going to see certain animals. Yes, definitely. At this time of the day, we see lots and lots of birds. We actually see a lot of animals in this late afternoon, and particularly around watering holes. Most of them will come down to have a drink, so things like impala, elephants, rhinos, buffalo, excuse me. Lots of different animals coming down to, of course, drink around waters. And then once the sun starts to settle for the night, then all the nocturnal creatures come out. So you've got a better chance of seeing some cats, seeing some of the big cats, of course. What else could you see? You could see some hyenas. So hyenas, you can see any time of the day. You can see them during the middle of the day. They might be sleeping, though, or resting up in some water. But I'm quite happy that we have a heron, and hopefully this heron is going to catch a fish like the last heron did when we were at Djuma Dam. Remember, that was a very exciting afternoon, and I wouldn't be surprised if it was the same heron, grey heron. fishing about. It caught a little tilapia or it was a little catfish, that's what it was. It snatched up one of those, and then probably about 15 minutes later we saw the caracal. Right, let me chat to Mike quickly. Standing by, Mike. I'm just quickly chatting to Mike on the radio. I'm at the Djuma Dam. Ooh. Okay. That's exciting. Right, we're going to keep going. The reason why is because we need to race now. Mike has just said the lionesses have just taken off running, and so has one of the Birmingham boys. And they're leaving the cubs. So I wonder if they haven't heard anything. Let's go and quickly head that side. And I just want to double check that I take the right turn. I'm pretty sure I go right here. Let's go back this way. And now hopefully we're going to see. Now I think they should have actually been going this way down here. So we're going to just keep our eyes open. They were near the Bushbriar site. But now we must remember, of course, with these lions, the little ones, we can't be in the sighting with them without mom being there. We will have to find the adults if they've moved away. We have to keep the radio on as well, so I can try and keep in contact with Mike. But let's check very carefully around here. Keep our eyes peeled. This is also very, very exciting. I don't know what they could have heard. There's often an impala and waterbuck around here. The last thing they nabbed was a waterbuck. So they seem to be specializing in taking them down at the moment. And you'll notice that at different times of the years, the big cats will go for certain things. When we have lambing season, they're all going for young impala, young wildebeest, all of those animals. Okay, now I just need to figure out where Mike is exactly, because I think the Bushbriar site is down here, but they're not exactly at the Bushbriar site. Mike Vitello. Mike, I'm at the junction where the road splits, and then I can see the Bushbriar site. Where are you from there? Can you hear my vehicle? Okay, I think we've got to go a little bit further. Yeah, A-firm. Okay, copy. So I mustn't go back towards the Bushbriar site where that road splits. Instead of going right, I must go left. Okay. That doesn't, hang on, so I'm just trying to figure out exactly where Mike is telling me to go. I'm not 100% sure where he is. Let's go where he said. Let's see. Always a bit confusing. Okay, what we're going to do is I need to figure out where exactly we need to go to find these lions. I'm going to send you across to James for a quick update.
Now we are making our way to the hyena den while Taylor does that with the lions. I'm afraid the wild dogs we couldn't stay with because there were about 75 vehicles on their way there. And unfortunately our game drive radio is of this state that we're unable to sort of tell exactly what's happening. And unfortunately we were on Arathusa when they were found, so we're very far down the pecking order basically. Hopefully they will come north into Djuma proper, and then we'll have at them for the most of the evening with any luck. So we're going to stay here and hereabouts, and perhaps they'll come back. Now, what I didn't mention at the beginning of the drive, of course, was that an old friend of many of yours is sitting on the vehicle with me today, and he is remaining with us, so your old friend is now your present friend. Good afternoon, Sabastian. Sabastian is back with us, and for those of you who are new viewers, Sabastian worked here for many years, or for about 2 years, right?
Yeah, not 2 years.
And there will be a video being put up fairly soon, well, within the next couple of hours or so, about him, where he's been, what he's been doing since he was here, and why he's back. and that's currently being frantically put together by Louise Pavid as we speak. So it's very good to have Sabastian back here. Very nice to have an old hand on the vehicle.
Thank you, James.
After
Nice to be back.
And after you've been away for many years of experience, and indeed got married. Yes, had a child, small daughter, 4 years old. Right, let us pop along to the hyena den, and if you would like to know more about Sabastian, then you just need to either ask and he'll tell you, otherwise just watch the video that will be posted on Facebook and probably our YouTube channel as well sometime during the course of today. And Sabastian was telling me the other day that when he was working here to start with, it was quite astounding. They were 3 of them here, and they used to do every single drive and alternate between presenting, camera and directing. Absolutely remarkable. Right, Jamie Patterson has got more to talk about than Sabastian. She's got something quite a lot larger even than Sabastian.
Quite a bit larger than Sabastian. Who is Sabastian? I have no idea who's Sabastian. And we've got some elephants here at the waterhole that have completely oh, of course, Sabastian, the camera operator. I was picturing the crab in The Little Mermaid. I was thinking along the line, oh, hello, girl. Okay, just gonna keep my voice down since I'll stay nice and still. Don't want them to pick up on our movements. Okay, we're perfectly with the wind blowing our smell away from them now, but they might pick up our smell as they go along around. So I think it's time for us to start backing away. The wind's doing this a little bit. So what we're going to do is we're going to slowly but surely go towards here. We don't really want to be trapped in a thicket, so what I want to do is just go around here. There we go. Got another nice view. She's seen us. She knows that we're here. She doesn't quite know what we are yet. But watch her body. The body language of that one cow went completely still. And that's usually a sign that they're aware of what's going on. Or they're aware of something. Our elephant's eyesight is so poor that she probably hasn't picked up on us. But she is going to as she comes around here. So what we're going to do is we're going to stay one step ahead of her. And we're just going to sneak around. By the way, Sensor's the one that actually spotted these elephants. So well done to Sensor. Well spotted indeed. Now the question is which way they're going to go. They're going to carry on, hopefully, towards Gurry Cut Line, which is where we want them to be. They, of course, are the elephants responsible for obliterating all sign of leopard tracks coming through. I love being on foot with elephants. It's always such a special experience. No dirt for me to throw into the air. And welcome to Blake, who would like to know, what do elephants eat? Thankfully not people, Blake, although they're still equally dangerous whether they did or did not. They eat plants. So when you're that big, you need a massive size to maintain, or you need a massive amount of food to maintain that size. So it needs to be something that you can get plenty of. The only thing out here that there's plenty of is trees and grass. So it depends what season, what time of the year. This time of the year they're eating lots of grass because we've had lots of rain. So the grass is fresh and bright and green. During the winter months they'll rely more on the vegetation and the trees. And what they'll do is they'll be feeding off the bark of the trees to get to the cambium layer, which is the water, the way that the plant transports water and sugar through its system. Oh, this is perfect. Absolutely perfect. And now the wind's blowing straight into my face, which is marvelous, rather than swirling our smell back towards them. They'll also eat roots, tubers, fruit. Elephants love fruit. Oranges. Oh my goodness, elephants and oranges. There's stories about elephants breaking into people's vehicles when they realized that they could actually get to an orange or a mango in there. So sweet fruit, one of their absolute favorite things, which unfortunately has the potential to bring them into conflict with farmers, especially in this area, which is a huge citrus farming area. Sorry, itchy cough. And just like that, our Ellies have gone, and we just got so lucky, because 5 minutes later, and we actually would have missed out on seeing them. No, we're going to duck around our elephants and go off in search of little Shungile. In the meantime, Taylor has finally managed to get a spot with an apex predator.
My goodness, that was interesting trying to get in here. So what happened was the lionesses got up and chased some impala, but unfortunately we're not successful. But they'd left the little cubs all on their own, so we couldn't come into the sighting with just the cubs. We tried to find the lionesses, and by the time we got them, the impala were all scattering about, and they were on their way back to the cubs. So we took the scenic way around to give them enough time to rejoin. And of course they are all here. You can see that's one of the lionesses we're looking at. And then if you go off to the right, you'll see that there's Mom with 4 little ones. The grass is so long that it is almost impossible to see them hiding away over there. But they are indeed here, as you can see. The 2 older ones look like they're more awake. And the youngsters obviously missed Mom for the whole 5 minutes that they were gone, and decided to tuck in to, well, the greatest thing that they know. And that, of course, is milk. And they need to eat. Not eat, they need to drink lots and lots of it. I was just listening, there's another car still just in the distance. Now, I do want to update the sighting when I can get a moment. Let's see if I can do that now. Just so that there are other people on a standby. So we're not going to be able to stay here for very long, because unfortunately with a sighting like this is light sensitive, and as you know, at this time of the year, unfortunately there isn't much light, and there's still 2 more vehicles that need to come into the sighting. So while it is just a 1 vehicle sighting, we just need to make sure that we are courteous and we rotate this sighting quick enough so that everybody gets a chance to have a look at them. But we'll see, hopefully we get them playing, even if it is just for 5 minutes. It would be nice if those little ones will finish up with their drink and then put on a show, which would be really cool, wouldn't it? And I'm still just waiting for a gap. No gap, so we shall turn the radio off. Come on, little ones, wake up. Maybe the 2 older cubs, when I say 2 older cubs, they're not much older. They're only 2 months older than their siblings, but they're much bigger. They've grown very, very quickly, those 2. It's just amazing how quickly they get. I can't wait to see the Nkahuma Pride again, so that I can see how big the little, well, they were once little. I suspect that they are probably 4 or 5 times the size of the oldest cubs now, and looking more and more like adults. And I wonder if any of the young boys that are in that pride have started to get their hairy chests. Hopefully they will make their return soon. I did hear that they were chatting about the Nguhumas this morning, and it sounds like they're somewhere between, they keep going between Simbambili and the Manuleti. And they did have tracks around Sydney's dam coming from the Manuleti, but I think they said that the tracks went back across and deep into the Manuleti. So it's a little bit sad for us. But hopefully everything's going to go back to normal, especially once the grass all dries up and the big herds of animals start coming back. Then we may see the return of the Nkuhumas. Maybe they're seasonal lions. For our summer months, they go off on a holiday. They just keep chasing the warmer weather. And then when it gets cooler, they come back to Djuma. That's what I'm hoping anyway. But there we go. One of the cubs has said, I've had enough to drink now. I am going to go on an adventure. And I don't know what adventure it thinks it's going to go on. Just to give Mom a little cuddle. Well, isn't that sweet? And you can see that they're still so tiny. They've got their little spots covering their bodies still. Look at all those spots on top of their heads. Aren't they so sweet? Now, it would be really nice if they would just move into the lovely golden light and play there. That would be ideal. Alice, please may I have that name again? I think Lovely Critters is what I'm hearing. I'm not certain. I apologize if I have butchered your name, as I'm not able to hear it very well. But you were wondering how much milk in a day do these little lions drink? A lot. I'm not sure exactly. Oh, look, the little one's gone over to Mom. Oh, just missed it. That little cub went under Mom's chin and Mom sort of hugged it back. So what happens is they need to drink constantly. They'll drink every few hours for the first couple of months of their life. And I'm sure they've been introduced to carcasses. We saw the waterbuck carcass yesterday, and in the morning with Tristan. And I'm sure that they would have been eating it. And I've just heard there's a gap on the radio. I just want to quickly recall in the sighting. Stations, if you can copy me, back on lock with the Styx Pride. It's just one vehicle here. Ryan is on first standby and Ali is on second standby. I won't be too long, as I know this is a light sensitive sighting. There we go. Just quickly called that in. So that's done. My duty is done now. Like I said, we've got 2 more cars still in their way, so we don't want to keep them waiting for too long. It is nice to just turn these sightings over. But those older cubs, you can see that their bellies are exceptionally full. So I think that they've had a combination of a lot of meat from that waterbuck carcass. I think they must have finished it off last night, as well as milk. They'll still be drinking lots. They're sort of gutsing as much as they can at the moment. This is when they're growing. And they need to make sure that they are fit and strong, because they're very playful too. So they're burning a lot of energy. Milk is full of fat and protein, so it's really, really good for them. And it'll be able to sustain their sort of active sort of boosts that they get every now and then, playing with each other, biting sticks as this one is doing, which is great to teeth on. You can imagine, you know what children are like when they start teething, and you know what it's like having a dog and cat at home when they're puppies or kittens. They chew and scratch everything. Well, these lions will do exactly the same thing, but luckily it is not furniture that they are chewing on. They're just using what they can find out in the bush. And sticks are a very nice thing to gnaw on. Trees make for great scratching posts, and that's one of my favorite things to see a lion do, is to stretch up vertically and claw the trees, which is really quite nice. Hello, girl. She's got her head up. The lionesses are looking so much better, which is great. Now, Bubby, you've asked if these lions are born with their eyes closed like kittens. They are indeed. For the first 10 days of their life, they're completely helpless. Oh, look at the little cub just to the right. It's going to play over with its sibling, and now you can see the size difference. And so, yes, so for the first 10 days of their life, they're pretty much helpless, and their eyes are closed, and they start to open after that. They're relying on Mom to move them around quite a bit. But now at this age, they're still a little bit wobbly. They're still strengthening all their muscles, and sometimes climbing over very small obstacles can be quite a big challenge. And that's why it is so funny to watch little lions play as they're learning. You went to see the sibling went over to that young lion and said, "Hey, play with me." And they are a bit rough to start off with. But don't worry, animals are tough. Remember, we've seen them overcome certain injuries. We've seen them overcome a number of different things. So a swat to the face, or perhaps a pounce from not one but all of their siblings, really wouldn't do much damage to them. They bounce back like anything. They're tough, and they have to learn to be tough and sort of sustain little blows like that. But if you've seen and watched all the sightings we've had with the Ngahuma cubs and the Styx cubs prior to this, you know that they are exceptionally rough. And it's often the little ones that are the instigators, because they go and they chew on tails that they're not supposed to be chewing on. And you can imagine that the others will retaliate, or you can pull the stick and anything really grabs their attention, the smallest of small things. But look at that comparison between the two. Remember, the little lions, the tiny ones, they're really young. I went and looked in my book, and I'd written that they said they were born between the 25th and the 28th of February, so they are not even 2 months old yet. But lion cubs are very relaxed, as you've seen. Having one vehicle in the sighting is not a problem at all. but you don't want to put too many in. We were chatting about this yesterday, but I know we have new viewers every single day, so if you're wondering why we can't spend too much time here, it really is just because it is a time-sensitive subject, and of course these cubs are young. But in the next few weeks, the sighting will go up to 2 vehicles, and eventually in big open areas, you will get yourself to around 3 vehicles. But they relax a lot quicker around the cars than leopard cubs do. Leopards sometimes need a little bit more of habituation. But these guys learn very quickly from their older siblings and, of course, their mothers that we are nothing to be feared, but we're also nothing to eat. So they're curious. They'll come up and sniff the tires and that type of thing. But you don't really want them to be getting too close anyway. Now, Shamsin, a very interesting question. You've said this afternoon, could the Nkuhuma cubs and the Styx cubs form a coalition? Now, it's not entirely possible whether the males from this litter and the males from the Nkuhuma litter, whether they join up or not, I'm unsure. But it isn't uncommon these days in the Sabi Sand to see male lions joining up together. But if all the males from the Nkuhumas, I can't even remember how many there were. I think there's only 2 now. But I stand corrected. I feel as though I haven't seen them for months and I've completely forgotten how many, which sexes passed on. But maybe you can help me if you do remember what the sexes of the cubs are now with Nkuhumas. You can hashtag Safari Live just to refresh my brain. I think though they would have had more. There's going to be more than one of them. So the chances are unlikely, but if it was, say, just one male from the Styx and one male from the Nkuhuma pride, and perhaps they stumbled across each other, they might. We can't say no. We saw it with a lion named Solo, or the Kruger male, and then there was another lion by the name of Freddy, I think they called him, and those 2 joined up later on in life and decided to form a coalition together, which was unusual, but a very clever strategy, of course. 2 lions is better than 1. So you never know. Where it might not be soon, it could be later on. But again, if there's more than one of them in a pride already and they leave together, the chances become less and less. But if they go on as a single male, then there definitely is a possibility. I think these animals surprise us all the time. Just when we think we know exactly what they're going to do, they throw a spanner into the works. But today seems to be a quiet, casual. Is it Monday today? It is Monday, isn't it? Yes. And a day to be chewing on sticks. That's really cool. And they are so little. Ah, okay. Arthera from Israel, you said that there's only 1 male cub left in the Nkuhuma pride. So the 2 that unfortunately passed on with white muscle disease must have been the other 2 boys, which is a little bit sad actually. I thought there were 3 males and 5 females if I was not mistaken, but I do stand under correction. It's very sad that there's only 1 now. Well, you never know. We'll have to just wait and see what happens. Maybe there's going to be some more cubs on the way, you know. Amber Eyes is yet to have a litter, and the youngest Nkuhuma lioness, who has been seen mating multiple times with various Birmingham boys. So there's also a chance that she could have her first litter too. We've just got to keep our eyes open. Wouldn't that be amazing if we could just keep getting doses of lions every single time, little lions popping up? The same thing goes with the leopards. Wouldn't that be fantastic? Because everybody's growing up so quickly, and I think if it wasn't for these little Styx cubs, we don't even have any little leopards anymore. I think Tumbo, but I suppose Shadow and her cub, but other than that, that's all. Because Tumba's getting very big now. Hosana and Shongile are definitely not little anymore. Futumi is not small. They've all grown up incredibly fast. It's actually amazing to think that I've only been here for 8 months, or just almost 8 months. And I've watched all these animals grow so much. It's actually a little bit scary how quickly time flies when you're out in the wilderness. And I remember when I first started, and the Nkuhumas, the youngest set of Nkuhumas, were just a little bit older than these cubs that we were looking at. And there we go, you can see size does matter. That was a clear example of how that sibling just sort of came in, bulldozed the little one over and said, "This is my stick, and now I'm also going to use you as a beanbag or as a pillow." But don't worry, the tables will turn one day. All those little ones will start pouncing on the older cubs and ganging up on each other. No, we're not going to be able to stay here for very much longer, I'm afraid. Like I said, we've got to let some other guides come through, and the sun is not far off from disappearing around behind the horizon. But Jamie has got another animal that would also like to go to bed when the sun goes down.
Well, luckily for us, they haven't gone to bed just yet. And we've got a pair of the most tolerant dwarf mongoose I've actually ever encountered on foot. They seem to be completely comfortable with us. Now, excuse me, Impala. They make the silliest sounds when they're rutting. I'm sorry, I know we're looking at the dwarf mongoose, but the Impala nearly ran into Herbie. There's just dust all around him. They came speeding past. Oh my goodness. You okay there, Herbs? Right, sorry, we're still looking at the dwarf mongoose. I thought Herbie was going to get to be the first person to be clupped by an impala running past. We're still with our dwarf mongoose. Look at this. The little chap is not only comfortable enough with us to be out of the termite mound, but is also comfortable enough to be enjoying the afternoon sun, soaking up the last bit of warmth before the sun starts to go down. And I want to try something. I mean, I've tried this with the wildebeest with outrageous success in getting a little bit closer to them, habituating to us on foot. But one of the things I've always wished I could do, if I had more time in the mornings or the afternoons, would be to actually sit with one business of dwarf mongoose, or one group of dwarf mongoose, and habituate them to the point that we could actually bushwalk with them. And I've tried with limited success because I just don't have the time to be consistent with them. And you've got to find where they go to bed at night, and it's a difficult thing to do, short of feeding them, which obviously we don't want to do. I don't want them to associate me with food. But I want to see how close. I mean, he's not even looking at me half the time now. Let me see if I can sneak a little bit closer. You see, the problem is they're comfortable because we never actually walk directly at them. I have a feeling now, even as I stand up, because my shadow's about to touch it, one of those weird things you don't think to be aware of in the bush unless you've walked a few times and made a few mistakes. You don't think to be aware of your shadow and the movement of your shadow, particularly in the late afternoon. Hi, buddy. I'm not really talking to it, just making generic squeaking sounds that sound, if you concentrate really hard, might sound like a dwarf mongoose. And it's worked for me in the past in the vehicle to get them to come out and say hello. So I've narrowed the distance now by about 2 meters. Now, Anya, you say that you haven't seen a dwarf mongoose in a while. I have to say our sightings have been few and far between of these little chaps. I think it's just the long grass, to be completely honest with you, Anya. No reason other than the grass is so long. We hear them all the time, but we only really see them when they pop themselves either out onto the road or onto a slightly higher termite mound. Otherwise, they disappear. They're so incredibly tiny, and just to give you a sense of perspective for our new viewers, these little chaps are probably the length of my forearm, from the base of my palm, where it meets my wrist, to the crook of my elbow. They're tiny little creatures, and that's including their little tails. The smallest of all of our predators out here, or at least our mammalian carnivores. Hi, little chap. Oh, hello, number 2. Now, Shamson, you want to know whether or not we could use Ronald the Rover to habituate the mongoose. Shamson, the nice thing about dwarf mongoose is they're actually so curious and actually quite intelligent that, yes, I believe that we could. In fact, it could be potentially Ronald's new friends. I think Ronald would have a great time with a group of dwarf mongoose. He might not be able to keep up with them, but Shamsan, that's actually, I mean, we know that this business lives around the waterhole, the Djuma waterhole. We've seen them many, many times. Now we just have to get lucky with Ronald, because bear in mind that Ronald has a limited radius where he can go, depending on where we set up the whole system. So we have to get lucky. The mongoose have to be there first. Ronald will just have to be patient. Sometimes when you make new friends, patience is a virtue. Like now, I'm making new friends. Now I'm going to have to crouch, because otherwise my shadow's going to touch that second one and they're going to panic. But now I look like I'm creeping up on them. I'm not. That's why I'm talking. Close the distance even more. I'm now about 4 meters closer than I was, and about 6 meters away from them. Our geeky Beth, you say apparently pet rats can respond to their names. Pet mongoose can too. They most definitely can learn their own names, or at least the sounds of their own names. Oh, don't go to bed yet. We haven't finished making friends. Oh, bye. Almost bye. I knew a mongoose called Goose. I actually looked after a mongoose called Goose. Many of you know the story of Goose. Goose ultimately ended up dangling from my septum between my nostrils. It was excruciatingly painful. But they do know to respond to their names. You used to walk into the garden and go, "Goose!" And Goose would come running along out of nowhere, shoot up your leg and climb into your sleeve. She was terribly sweet, when she wasn't using her teeth. I had got off easy. My friend Steph ended up with Goose hanging from her eyelid. They don't really make good pets at all. And we don't encourage the keeping of pets as wild animals as pets. But there's no reason why we can't get a little bit closer now that the other one's out. Just keep my shadow down while they're distracted. Hi guys. Oh, too focused on me. Yes, Alice, what can I do for you? Ah, that is what Alice wanted me to let you know. It's that James is back with our incredibly endangered dogs.
This is spectacular. They've come back north. I can't believe it. It's wonderful. They're on the dam wall at Twin Dams. They're coming down. They might have a drink here. Oh, this is just brilliant. Now, I can't move too much from here because Wendy, of course, has very dodgy signal in this area. But right now, we're in the perfect position to view them from all sides. Oh, isn't this fantastic? How very special. There they are, having a nice drink. I can just hear them going. Yeah, others coming down towards where the hippo is, others heading towards us. But that is by far the most beautiful part of the shot that you're getting there. Isn't this wonderful? Oh, wow. Now, I think this is the Sands pack, everybody. And the Sands pack, of course, the one we saw the other day and the same one you were watching this morning. The Alpha has that dreadful injury on his back. Ancient-looking dog. Look at them in the water there.